All attendees are in listen-only mode.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first of our series of Cruise Guru's Guide to, today we'll be talking about Holland America Line. And on the line today we have Barry Downs, and he'll be going through this great presentation about different areas that Holland America Line cruise to, and also some of the great benefits that are available at the moment, and some of the special offers that we have with Cruise Guru and Holland America Line. So I'm going to hand it over now, ladies and gentlemen, to our presenter this afternoon, Mr. Barry Downs.
Thanks, Leighton, and good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure that you've taken the time to join me today. Before we get too far into today's presentation, I did just want to highlight the features of a webinar. It may or may not be your first time joining us. So in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you'll be able to make out a control panel. You can expand or reduce that control panel depending on the size of your screen, I guess. And within that control panel, you'll find the tools on how to control your audio. So whether you're dialing in via mic and speakers using VoIP via your computer, or whether you're dialing in via telephone. If you are dialing in via telephone, then I would advise you to pop in your audio pin. It just makes life a little easier in controlling the audio facility. And then down towards the bottom of that facility, you'll also find the question box. Now, as you're probably aware, you can hear me, you can see my screen, but if you have any questions at all, just type them into that question box, send them through to me, and at the end of the presentation, I'll do my best to answer as many of those questions as we possibly have, of course, time permitting. I also like to just point out there is a raise hand facility there as well. If you experience any difficulties with the webinar audio or visual components, just raise your hand. If more than 2 people raise their hand, then I do know that something's not quite running as maybe it should be. So that's how to use the facilities within the control panel. Now, we're here today to talk about Holland America, and some of you may have cruised with Holland America before, some of you may be new to cruising. So I just wanted to say that today's presentation will go for about 30 minutes, and we're really going to cover all of the areas of why Holland America is such a popular cruise line, and then go into some key destinations which are extremely popular with the Australian traveller, such as our close-to-home cruising, which is our departures from Sydney, and also our European itineraries, where we do have lots of Australian guests joining us every year. Now, no matter what ship you travel on, there are 5 key ingredients to every Holland America experience. Now, the ship is one of those first important aspects. Now, it's important to note that our ships are extremely spacious, and our space per guest ratio is exceedingly high as well. If you take the tonnage of the ship and divide it by the number of guests, that gives you a space ratio. Anything above 40 is considered to be exceedingly generous, and at Holland America we actually have a space ratio of anywhere between about 42 and 48 depending on the ship that you're travelling on. Now, of course, we do have a whole heap of facilities on board these ships to allow you to travel in beautiful comfort, but that alone isn't enough. We do want to make sure that we have some of the best service available at sea, and that's why we have our gracious, award-winning, unobtrusive service. Dining, of course, is an incredibly popular component of cruising for many guests, so we do have a whole selection of different dining choices for you, and we will go into a lot more detail about these 5 pillars in just a moment's time. And of course, whilst the ship is very important, the amenities that we have and the facilities and enrichment that we provide is important. Equally important is the destination to many guests, and to be able to spend as much time in those ports and really get to discover them on a different level. So let's take a little look at the various different ships within the fleet. We currently have 15 ships, starting at the very bottom of the screen there with the Stateroom on the left-hand side. The Stateroom is actually one of the classes of ship as well. So the Stateroom, Maasdam, Verandah and Verandah are all identical sister ships. The next class of ships up is the Rotterdam class of ships, and the Rotterdam and the Amsterdam are actually sister ships, and equally the Volendam and the Zaandam are sisters as well. There are slightly differences between the Volendam and the Rotterdam in 2 individual classes of ships, but those 2 sisters are very, very similar. Then we have our new ships for the new millennium. In early 2000 we launched our Vista class ships. That's the Lido, Oosterdam, Oosterdam and Noordam. The easiest way to remember those ships, it is positions of the Dutch compass: Noordam, Oosterdam, Lido and Oosterdam. North, east, south and west, of course. And then at the top of the screen we have our latest additions to the fleet, which were the Eurodam and the Nieuw Amsterdam. They are also sisters and very much almost identical. And the exception to every rule that we talk about across the Holland America fleet is the beautiful Prinsendam. She is the only ship that wasn't built for us. She was acquired by Holland America from our sister Seabourn many years ago. She has had all of the standardization and amenities added, but she's very different in size and layout. So she only carries just about 800 guests, and whilst most of our ships have two-level dining rooms and various different components, the Princendam is on occasions very, very different. So that just gives you a little insight into the ships that we operate on around the world. Now, as I touched upon, we do pride ourselves on the space that we provide per guest, but we also pride ourselves on the award that we have been self-titled or given to from our peers within the cruise industry, and that is of the spotless fleet. You will find Holland America standards are exceptionally high, and whilst there are very modern cruise lines out there, Holland America is very traditional. Of course, we have been around for many, many years. In fact, more than 135 years, and it's very much our traditional aspects that appeal to many of our repeat guests, such as the brass and the teak and the fresh flowers and the abundance of art and antiques on board, all of those as well. Signature of excellence, which you see as a part of our tagline, but it's also our dedication to constant innovation and improvements that we make across the various ships at various different times. So you will obviously quite often hear signature of excellence 2 referred to, and that is when we talk about some of the recent enhancements that have taken place. So let's take a little look at the dining options that you have as a standard across all of our ships. The first one being, of course, that you can dine in your stateroom 24 hours a day, completely complimentary if you wanted to. There is no surcharge to have your room service, which, of course, some cruise lines do now charge. Keeping it casual, we also have the Lido restaurants. This is where you'll find your cook-to-order buffet. You sit where you like, with whom you like, and order from the various selections that are available. It's available for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And in this area you'll also find complimentary tea, coffee, iced tea and water. Do notice on this particular image we've got an abundance of fresh flowers. I touched on just a moment ago that we're one of the last cruise lines to insist on fresh floral arrangements in all public areas of the ship. Just adjacent to the Lido restaurant is also the Canaletto restaurant, which is a specialty restaurant that we have. It's very much a family-style Italian dining experience. It is available in the evenings. There is no surcharge to dine in the Canaletto, but it is reservation only, purely because of its intimate size. Now, many guests do choose to dine in the main dining room, which is, of course, located at towards the aft of the ship, or the back of the ship, and with the exception of the Princendam, all of our dining rooms are 2-level, and you can see lots of space amongst the tables there. You can see there's a selection of tables of 2, 4, 6, 8, and in some instances tables of 10 as well. Now, when choosing your Holland America cruise, whether booking it online with Cruise Guru, you can choose your dining preference. Now, you have a choice of choosing traditional dining, and that's in the form of early or late dining. That is generally at about 5:45 and again at about 8 p.m. Alternatively, you could choose as you wish dining, which is available on the lower level of the dining room, and that means that you can be a little bit more flexible. If you're in Europe, for example, and you come back to ship a little bit later that night, you might want to shower, change, have a drink, and then come down a little later that evening. And that flexibility, that as you wish, is proving very, very popular with the Australian traveller. Now, it doesn't matter which dining choice you choose. It is exactly the same menu. It's the same attentive waiter service. In fact, we have 2 waiters plus a sommelier or a wine waiter per table in the main dining room. Now, the main dining room is open every evening, of course. It's also open for breakfast on select days and also for lunch on sea days as well. So you can have very attentive waiter service at various different times. It's also worth mentioning that we also have the Pinnacle Grill. The Pinnacle Grill is our specialty fine dining restaurant. It is found across the entire fleet. It is $25 for dinner, and that is including the best prime-aged steaks, beautiful fresh Alaskan salmon, fresh seafood, very, very attentive waiter service. We have Bulgari china, Rydell stemware, fret linens. It really is just an additional level to add to your dining experience, and we do encourage you to try and experience it once during your cruise, whether it's for a birthday, an anniversary, a special occasion, or even just to celebrate the fact that you're at sea and having a great time in Europe, or maybe even a little closer to home. Now, on the Eurodam and the Nieuw Amsterdam, we also have one additional restaurant, which is our Asian fusion restaurant. And that, again, is a specialty restaurant that requires reservations, and there is a small surcharge to be able to dine in there. Now I am noticing that there's a few of you just posting a few questions. We will of course be able to answer your questions individually at the end of the presentation. If you are just joining us, any questions, just pop them into that little question box and we'll do our best to answer as many of those as we possibly can. If you think of anything that springs to mind, then certainly drop that into the little poll question box there for me. So we'll continue on with our accommodations, and of course we fed you, we've watered you, we want you to have a very, very comfortable night's sleep. So let's take a little look at your home away from home. Now no matter what your budget, whether it's for an inside accommodation through to ocean view accommodation through to our verandas, our deluxe verandas and suites, something is very common in that we have the Mariner Dream Bed, which is quite possibly one of the most comfortable night's sleep that you can have at sea. So the images that you find at the top of the screen there are of the inside staterooms. Each of our ship has a slightly different colour scheme, so I'm just displaying the two different colour schemes that are available there. And the main difference between an inside and an ocean view is of course those picture windows that you see towards the bottom of the screen. All of the facilities and amenities are exactly the same, with the light magnifying makeup mirror, the full powered hairdryer, flat screen TVs, DVD players, that lounge area that you have. And just behind the photographer you will also find the bathrooms and of course also the expansive wardrobes and storage space that we have. Going up to the next level, if your budget permits, we also have our veranda staterooms, and this just allows the additional personal space outdoors, whether you are somebody that just likes to sit on your veranda and read a book, whether you prefer to get room service and have breakfast with beautiful views, or whether you like to welcome guests to have a few free dinner drinks on your balcony. Of course, everybody has their own individual preferences. And again, just showing you the different colour schemes that are available at various different themes of the ships that we have. So that's your veranda staterooms. Then we come through to our deluxe veranda suites, which are just over twice the size of a standard stateroom. So very, very large. Double width verandas. You get your full sun lounges out there. You get that expensive lounge area. You have your no-host minibar. You have your walk-through wardrobes. You have your powered hot tub, to name just a few individual features. One of the great things about the deluxe veranda suites and also the penthouse suites is that you get private access to the Neptune lounge, which is our own private concierge or your club class lounge, where you can go and enjoy a specialty coffee, read a book, connect to the Wi-Fi internet service, maybe use the staff that are available there to book your shore excursions or to help you with any bill inquiries that you may have. So that's the Neptune Lounge, which is exclusively available to deluxe veranda suites and of course the penthouses as well. Now of course we might have some of the best and most spacious staterooms and ships. We might have some great components of activities, but it all really comes together with the service that is provided by our award-winning crew. We do employ only Filipino and Indonesian crew on board our ships because their service levels are so exceptionally high. They have this ability to know when you want a little bit more lemonade. They have the knack of knowing when you want an extra pillow in your bedroom, and they really do go above and beyond to deliver on that. Our officers, on the other hand, are traditionally Dutch or European, and combined they work as a team to really deliver this award-winning service. Now I always like to touch on gratuities at this moment in time. Gratuities are additional to your cruise fare. They are payable on board. They're actually added to your stateroom account. $11.50 per person per day is added for staterooms and $12 per person per day for suites. And continuing on with your activities, just to also mention that those gratuities are only shared amongst the Filipino and Indonesian crew. No officers receive them, no dancers, entertainers, shop staff. It really is the boys and girls that work exceptionally hard to deliver and exceed your service expectations. Continuing on with the activities, of course the ships are great destinations in themselves, and to add to that facility we do have an enrichment program on board. Basically any cruises of 14 days or more have an exploration speaker series, which is where we welcome an expert, be it a naturalist, environmentalist, expert in their field, to add an extra dimension to your cruising experience. But we also have dance classes, art auctions, wine tasting, casino tournaments. We have our party planners who also treat you to invitation making, flower arranging, ice sculptures, etc. So do check out the a daily activity program which is delivered to your stateroom. As a rough guide, we'll have about 50 activities on a sea day and about 30 to 35 on a port day, because of course you're in that destination to learn and to get ashore and see as much of the destination as possible. So let's take a little look at some of the public areas of those ships, starting off with the main show lounge. The show lounge there is used predominantly in the evening, of course, to show our Las Vegas cabaret-style shows. Now, we generally have a cast and crew, which are our onboard entertainers, that deliver 3 to 4 shows per cruise. And then in addition to that, we bring on local entertainers who will complement it, be them vocalists, bands, musicians, ventriloquists, magicians, to name just a few different styles that we have. We also use this area during the day for port talks and exploration speaker series that we implement on 14 days or longer. We also do bingo in this area as well, and if we have a particular movie which is in high demand, we can show the latest release movies in here as well, but we do have a more intimate movie theatre which we'll talk about on the next slide. So the Culinary Arts Centre, or the Wayang Theatre, as it's known on some of our ships, is proving immensely popular. It's found across the entire fleet, and this is where you can wander into the theatre, take a seat, and watch either the executive chef on board, the celebrity chef, or a Kugelkofer in some instances, who will come on board and really talk about these secret ingredients, the different styles of cooking. You get to not only watch it, you get to taste everything, and you get to take home a little sample card, menu card as well. In addition, we do also have our signature series where you can pay a small surcharge. There will be you and maybe 10 other people around that table talking, chatting, chopping, and really learning an extra level or dimension to that culinary experience. In here, this is where the hostess will also do a lot of their party planning activities. But the beauty of this venue is it is multi-use, and when the kitchen is not in use, we can close those curtains, a white screen drops down, and it does become the Wayang Theatre, which is where we show our latest release movies. They're normally displayed about 2 to 3 times per evening, and also with complimentary popcorn. Just a few years ago, we also identified that lots of people were coming on board the ships with new digital cameras and new iPads and Kindles, and to be honest didn't necessarily know the best way to be operating them. So we partnered up with Microsoft or Windows, and we have techsperts on board all of our ships now who deliver a series of different presentations. They're interactive. You get to sit at a computer and actually practice what you're being taught. There are 16 different workshops that you can partake in, but they are immensely popular, so I would strongly recommend that once you get on board the ships that you do go through to the area and inquire as to what the various different programs are and when they were displayed throughout your particular cruise itinerary. Having a little wander around the ship now just to show you that we do have some beautiful lounge areas. This is just an example of the Neptune lounge, and this is where you can find a little quiet spot during the day. In the evening, if you don't want to see a show, you don't want to go to maybe the piano bar, you can wander in here, have some nice conversation with some new friends, enjoy a specialty coffee or a cognac, and we also have our string quartet in here as well. So nice classical aspects to the ships as well. Keeping with the lounge theme, we'll have a little look at the crow's nest. The crow's nest is located high at the very, very front of the ship and has beautiful views of the voyage ahead. Immensely popular when you're cruising into Sydney Harbour, for example, or even cruising through to Alaska or even into Venice. During the day, again, it's a quiet spot for you to relax, read a book, chat with friends. Early in the afternoon, we might have some dance classes, some mixology classes. Later on, we might have some happy hour, and then, of course, we'll have sail away parties in here as well. And depending on the ship, this crow's nest may also double as the nightclub for use through to the early hours of the morning as well. And of course we do have 2 swimming pools on board all of our ships. The aft pool, which you see pictured on the screen just now, is open to the elements, so ideal when you're cruising in those warmer weather climates. It tends to be the quieter of the 2 pool areas, and it can become filled with either freshwater or seawater and can be heated in cooler weather as well, so there's no excuse not to enjoy a dip. Midship, the pool is actually under a retractable negrodome, which is a roof that can close off. So if it is a little bit cooler or the weather is a bit changeable, we will close this roof and maintain a resort-style atmosphere. But it is a very popular area, a very busy area of the ship. But just off this area, you will find our snack areas, the Lido restaurants, so a great spot once again. So that's just giving you a little insight into the common features and facilities that you'll find across our ships. Now just taking a little look at the various different destinations. First of all, taking a look at Europe for 2013. Now there is still availability for 2012, but 2013 has just launched, so we thought it'd be important to share that information with you. And we do have a special offer with Cruise Guru. If you book before the 15th of June, you'll receive complimentary Pinnacle Grill for 2 people per stateroom and a bottle of Bon Voyage champagne. So just a nice little way to start your cruise. So taking a little look at some of the ships that we have operating here. Of course, we do have 6 ships at various different times of the European summer season. The Noordam has a firm favourite with Australian travellers, but her deployment has changed from previous years. So if you are comparing to previous years, things are a little different for 2013. Taking a look at the Mediterranean Explorer, which is an 11-day itinerary, sailing from Barcelona through to Rome, and takes in the best of Mallorca, Marseille, Monte Carlo, Livorno, then heading down to Tunisia, and then through to Palermo for Sicily, up into Naples for Sorrento, Mount Vesuvius and Capri, and then ultimately finishing up into the port of Rome. And the prices that you see displayed on the screen there are actually for the second departure. You'll notice that little symbol that indicates 25 April, which is the Adriatic Explorer, which you could actually do back to back. So you could stay on the ship for up to 22 days if you wanted to. Now the Adriatic Explorer continues from Rome, goes through to Corfu, Dubrovnik, Split, into Venice, and then heading down into Katakolam, which is a port for Olympia, Santorini, and ultimately finishing up in the port of Athens. Now, the cruises do operate in various different directions. The asterisks actually indicate that it operates in the reverse of what we've just mentioned. But you can see, a great 11-day itinerary in the best of the Mediterranean starts at just $1,900 per person for an inside cabin. The Noordam also then continues on from Athens up through to Istanbul. It's a continuation of 11 days. It is just a slightly higher lead-in price of $2,059, but that sees you sailing from Athens down to Port Said, into Cairo, and then up into Rhodes, Kushadasi, Mykonos, up through the Dardanelles, and ultimately ending up in Istanbul. So the key difference for the Noordam from previous years is that the Noordam always operated on round-trip Rome itineraries, but for next year she's operating on a slightly different schedule and deployment. The Nieuw Amsterdam continues on through sailing from Barcelona through to Venice, and you can see some examples of her itineraries here. She still remains on 12-day itineraries, and you can see the Mediterranean Tapestry is Barcelona through to Venice. Alternatively, you could do a round-trip Venice, which sees you going through into the Greek Isles and Turkey once again. So the lead-in price there is based on the Mediterranean Tapestry itinerary of 2,309 Australian dollars. Looking at the Eurodam tends to be our ship that first of all starts the season off in the Mediterranean, then heads around and does Northern Europe, heading up also into the Baltics. It's no different for 2013, but she is operating out of Rome at the start of the season, where she'll offer 10-night round-trip durations, starting on the 19th of April with a round-trip Rome, taking in Livorno, Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Mallorca, Tunisia, Palermo, Naples, and back to Rome. Again, you can continue 10 days later and continue on an 11-day itinerary, which is also a round-trip Rome, but you're not repeating any ports of call. So we do know that Australians tend to head to Europe and travel for that little bit longer. So if you are speaking to the Cruise Guru guys, then do make sure that you ask about collector's voyages, which is what we refer to when we put more than one cruise back-to-back for you. So the lead-in price there is just $1,800 for that 19 April departure, which is on the Eurodam for the Western Med Splendor. She then heads around the Iberian Peninsula, heading from Rome through Spain, up through Portugal, touching on Brussels before heading ultimately into Copenhagen, which is where she will be home ported for the Baltic season. So 10 May departure is a Rome through to Copenhagen. It's 11 days in duration and it's just $1,900. You then could continue and stay on board and do a round trip Copenhagen and go through as far as St. Petersburg. On all of our itineraries that encompass St. Petersburg, you do have an overnight stay, of course, and some great ports of call there, including Tallinn in Estonia, Helsinki, Stockholm, Berlin, and of course the Kiel area of Hamburg. But if your preference is to cruise a little closer to home, Then in 2012 and 13 we will be welcoming back the beautiful Volendam as she sails out of Sydney, and of course for the first time we're welcoming the Oosterdam, who will be joining her for part of the season. Again, we have a special offer for bookings that are made before the 15th of June, including Bon Voyage champagne, Pinnacle Grill lunch for two, and a beverage card on select sailings. So let's take a little look on the itineraries that are featured on our close-to-home departures. First of all, the Volendam and the Oosterdam do sail out of Vancouver and Seattle for the Alaskan season, so you can have the opportunity to do the last Alaska cruise of the season, sail back down across the Pacific, and ultimately end up back in Sydney. You do have the Trans-Pacific cruise there, which is 23 nights for just $1,900, exceptionally good value for money. Alternatively, on the Volendam in October of this year, you could do the circumnavigation of Australia. These circumnavigations are proving immensely popular nowadays. This actually sails in a anti-clockwise direction, sailing from Sydney up the east coast, taking in Brisbane, Hamilton Island, Townsville, Cairns, across the top into Darwin before heading up into Indonesia, and then down through the west coast, and ultimately across the south and into Tasmania before returning back into Sydney. That is a 34-night duration for just $4,499 for an inside cabin. And of course, New Zealand is increasingly popular, has been for many years on board the Volendam. We're operating the New Zealand itineraries on the Oosterdam this year, which is great because it has so many more balconies, and you certainly want to enjoy a balcony in Milford Sound. We have itineraries that go one way, so cruise from Sydney to Auckland, or we also have the round trips. The itinerary that you see over to the right-hand side there is the round trip Sydney. It's 14 nights in duration. Sees you doing the main sea, 2 days at sea to get across to Milford Sound. You do the beautiful Fiordland National Park, where you'll hopefully take in 3 or 4 of the fjord areas before then heading around to Dunedin, up into Littleton for Christchurch, ultimately into Wellington, Napier, the Art Deco Centre, Tauranga for its native influences, and then through to Auckland before having a little look there at the Bay of Islands and back into Sydney. So the lead-in price for a 14-night cruise on the round trip New Zealand starts at about $2,227. Unique for this year, we also have the Solar Eclipse Cruise, which is a cruise out of Sydney, taking up the east coast of Australia, and you really will be in the best location to get the best advantage of the solar eclipse at this particular time of year. It departs 7 November. It is on the Oosterdam, and the 14-night cruise starts at $1,700. Do bear in mind the cruise to the left and the cruise to the middle there, the beverage card is only $25 on those 2 particular cruises, whereas on the other cruises it is $50. Having a look then at an alternate New Zealand cruise, you can see there a 14-night cruise from $1,499, and something a little bit different, maybe considering cruising out to the Pacific Islands, maybe in the school holidays if you want to travel with children. This will see us travelling a couple of days at sea before arriving into Noumea, and then into New Caledonia, Port Vila, Ile des Pines, and then cruising back. And again, very, very popular, and if you do have the time, you can actually put more than one cruise back-to-back and do a collector's New Zealand and South Pacific cruise, which really gives you the best of both worlds. A few other cruises that are available there in the South Pacific region, just looking first of all at the Oosterdam, the other options that are available there, and towards the bottom of the screen you see the Volendam when she heads then up through Asia, so you can cruise from Australia through to Singapore, and then she'll offer a whole array of different departures from Singapore to Hong Kong, including that Christmas holiday cruise, which will see Christmas and New Year at sea, departing on the 21st of December for just 2,400 Australian dollars. I myself have done an Australian Christmas cruise with the beautiful ships of Holland America Line and would highly recommend it. So that concludes today's webinar. It is in the presentation side of things. I hope you found it beneficial. I hope you found it a little insight into what we're all about and the beautiful ships that we have. I am going to take a moment now just to open up the question box and see any questions that you may have sent through to me. If you did join us a little later in the presentation, you can still send me questions. All you need to do is pop your questions into that toolbox in the top right-hand corner of the screen, send them through to me, and myself or Leighton from Cruise Guru will do our best to answer those for you. And just having a look at what questions we have in here. Having a quick look there. So Leighton's now joined us once again. So the first question that we have is, I represent a company that has lifestyle voyages for the over 55s, how affordable is Holland America for retirees? Well, I think we've just demonstrated that Holland America cruises generally start within the region of about 150 Australian dollars per person per day, but you're welcome to contact us with specific questions about individual departures, and we'll be happy to look at that for you. And equally, if you have groups from those lifestyle villages that want to travel together, we can look at groups for you and assist you with that. Just a question just coming through now. I'm not as mobile as I used to be, and do your cabins have showers only or a separate bath? It really does depend on the categories. As a general rule, and it is something that you just need to check with your reservations consultant, but as a general rule, inside cabins have a walk-in shower, and categories above that, such as ocean views, do generally have a shower over bath, but we do have some adapted cabins and staterooms which are a little bit different. So if you have specific needs, then speak through to the reservations team, and they'll do the best to seek out the right category of accommodation for you. And it looks like that is the questions for the moment. We've still got a very large number of you joining us right now, so I would like again just to thank you for taking the time to join us. It is Cruise Guru's first webinar, I believe, Leighton, but I think you've got others coming up.
It is, definitely, yep. And Barry, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to us today about Holland America Line and all the different features. I did also want to highlight again, ladies and gentlemen, that we do have those exclusive benefits available for a short period of time for those European sailings and also the sailings out of Australia, for that Pinnacle Grill lunch for 2 people, Bon Voyage champagne and chocolate dip strawberry. So make sure you do be aware of those. If you are looking to book, do lock it in sooner rather than later, because they are selling quite well at the moment. I just want to also highlight that the Cruise Guru team is available to take your calls on 131303, so you can do that by calling our team internally. Otherwise, if you do want to go onto our website, onto cruiseguru.com.au, all the information that you'll find on our website is all live, so you're seeing the same cabin numbers that we're seeing internally. You can pick and choose your cabin number as you wish, and you can lock it in there on the spot. So if you are looking to book it online, by all means you can go ahead, it will book it instantly, and it will take it straight out of the inventory for you. So if you do have any other questions, if not, you can please send it through to our reservations at cruiseguru.com.au. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of Barry and myself for joining us today on this great webinar about Holland America Line. Next week we'll be featuring our webinar presentation on Royal Caribbean, and that will be happening on Tuesday the 12th of June. A little bit earlier this time, so it won't be happening in the afternoon. It will be happening at around about 12 o'clock. But do look, if you aren't a fan on our Facebook, please become a fan on our Facebook, where we'll be posting details of the link to the webinar on Royal Caribbean, and it will also be included in a newsletter as well. So do look out for both those forms. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great afternoon. And we hope to see you on board one of these beautiful ships sometime soon. Thank you.